Good evening. With the election fast approaching, the stakes have never been higher here in the state of Delaware. Tonight, we sit down with Ruth Briggs King, a dedicated public servant and candidate for Lieutenant Governor for the state of Delaware. In a state where Republicans often face uphill battles, she's committed to addressing critical issues like education, economic growth, and public safety. We'll delve into her motivations for this role and how she plans to unite a divided electorate. Let's get to the heart of the matter. We welcome Ruth Briggs King. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be with you and your viewers tonight.
Yes. I mean, I've moderated one of your debates so far. I think it's just been one debate. We've moderated so many this season, but I know that you've been busy. Every candidate that we've spoken to has been up and down the state on numerous occasions, sideways, small towns. How are you doing? How are you keeping up?
I'm doing very well. I've always enjoyed being out with people, meeting people, listening to them, finding out what their concerns are, working hard for them. So it's neat to see some different faces in different parts of the state that I haven't seen before. But you know, the issues and concerns are the same throughout the state. One would be surprised when we talk about education, public safety, the business climate. Whether you're in downtown Wilmington or in downtown Georgetown, some of the concerns are the same.
Yeah, it's some of it is seamless throughout the state. We don't have a lot of time, so we have done our best, to ensure that all the candidates have an equal amount of time to talk when they're here on the show. We're not being biased between one or the other, so we want to get down to brass tacks and ask questions. And my first question is, why Lieutenant Governor for the state of Delaware?
I think having served 14 years for one district, but reaching out beyond that district on many issues, and just felt that I have more work to do and I can give a lot more statewide. I think I'm uniquely prepared, having served on joint finance committees, education committees, been appointed by 2 governors to different really strong task force that needed, a lot of guidance in hand there. And I just felt I have so much more to give. I think more than a politician, I'm a public servant. And I want to do things to improve our communities, improve our state. And I just felt I'm not done yet. I have more I can give.
So it's what we've experienced oftentimes with the lieutenant governor here in the state of Delaware. It's a very, I like to call it a roll your sleeves up kind of position.
Right.
You're interfacing with the public. You're working sometimes as a social worker for families, and people are like, yeah, the lieutenant governor is like helping someone with housing or whatever. And you're cutting a lot of ribbons and you're doing this stuff. And I understand it is a very busy position. But what is your day one plan once you, if elected, get in office?
My day one plan actually begins November 6th, the day after the election, to have that agenda. I put out some very specific things I want to accomplish, and a lot of those related to education. I just don't want to come in day one and say, what am I going to do? I want to have a plan ready to go because that's just the type of person I am. I want to have a team ready. I've always been good about building a team and reaching out to different communities to make sure I'm representing those different communities on my team. So day one, I'll have that team in place that will know, for instance, there'll be someone from the city of Wilmington that understands the needs in the city of Wilmington, as well as someone from Sussex County that understands, and we bring that team concept together. I think it's having that experience in developing leadership, developing talent, and making sure you're reaching across the aisle as well. I think that there's some good people in the offices right now that have been doing good work. I'd want to continue those things that we've been doing well, and I want to focus on those things where we've not been doing well, like education, because it's time to stop the silliness and really get down to some brass tactics.
And that's going to be my first question is, we have been diligent, I believe, here on DETV and focusing on the issues. The issues that I know that we've harped on this show has been education. We want our viewers to know that there's an issue. We want our viewers to know that we are collectively tired of it. It needs to change. Not only that, but it can change, right? The ability is there. And I don't want education for folks to think that education is a buzzword that only happens every 4 years or every 2 years, whatever the election cycle is. It is something that needs to continually be at the forefront of everyone's mind here in the state of Delaware because it has roots to so many other things. So when you're telling me about education, I would really like to know, and so would our viewership, would really like to know your thoughts on education and what are some tangible goals that you have here for near term.
Well, first of all, it's having the will, and I have both the will and the way, the path forward. Having been an educator, and I was an educator for 7, almost 8 years, career technical education was one of my specialties, and I'm so disappointed in what we're not giving our students, the parents, and the community. Nothing is going to bring you out of poverty or bad situations more than quality education and educational opportunities. When I look at the city of Wilmington, and I frankly have asked the question, why don't we have a new school in the city of Wilmington, a high school where our kids aren't bused out of the towns, out of the community where they live? Because I think you build a sense of community when you have a school in that community, and you build the students as well so that they feel comfortable in the classrooms where they are. I think it's coming back to a couple of things for me. One is equity in funding and education. And I have sat on at least 2 task forces where they talk about how we need to change the funding formula. And they spend money on consultants, and nothing ever comes back into the districts or back into the classroom. The money doesn't get to the students, and it doesn't get to the teachers. So there's all talk about what we need to do, but there's not that way, that path forward. And I've said it before, your education, the quality of your education should not depend on your zip code. We should be funding our schools equally and equitably. I happen to live in Sussex County where there's this thing called Sand and Sun, and so they have a lot more money to invest in local funds than you do in the city. It's clearly not fair, and I'm not sure reassessment's going to take care of that. So what I'm saying is let's look at and make sure we're funding our schools the same, equitably. The second thing we have to address is absenteeism. On any given day in any given school district, more especially in the city, 25% of students are not in the classroom. They can't get learning, they can't get some of the other wraparound services. We need an authentic discussion. Why aren't these children in school? Are they caring for another family member? Are they doing daycare for a younger sibling? Or is there reason why they're afraid to go to school? Maybe it could be group violence or some other intimidation. We need to have that real discussion, because when a student falls behind from being absent, they fall grades behind. They're not on grade level by grade 3 and reading at a certain rate. The likelihood they're going to fail or drop out increases. Nothing empowers a person more than a high school degree or moving on for education. But when they don't get that, nothing holds them or pushes them back more than that lack of education. So you're creating this vicious cycle of poverty that's tied to education or the lack of education opportunities.
Do you know, and you're currently a representative, do you know, is there a plan to deal with absenteeism in the state of Delaware for these students? Is it, and if they do have a plan, is it something that they can turn around fairly quickly, or is it something that's going to take several cycles and a few years to fix? What I'm not getting from the legislature is that there is a strong plan. Is there a plan?
I haven't seen a plan. And last year, in 2023, I met with the Secretary of Education and said, I'm very concerned about absenteeism and as well as disruptive student behavior. There was not really a good plan. So I put together, and I said, I'm not just going to talk about it, I want action. And I've said that I wanted to reduce absenteeism, student and teacher absenteeism, by 50% in 5 years. I think that's, if you don't set a goal, Kerwin, you have nothing to go towards. And I'm one of those, I want to set a goal. I want to see us moving towards that. We're reducing this. Another problem is the truancy courts. They're really not enforcing when a child's not in school. So I've talked to a lot of teachers that are, assigned to teach at homebound instruction or to deal with truancy. And it's like there's just a lack of accountability. And I think that if we help the parents understand why it's important for this child to be in school, and then we hold the parent and the teacher accountable for getting that child in school.
Do you feel as though, and this is a direct question, that the Department of Education needs to be
Absolutely. I think that it's too much at a high level and it's not working down in the classrooms. They're coming up with a lot of policies or ideas, but it's like chasing the tail of a dog. They're not making sure, they're not slowing down and making sure this is working before they move on to the next thing. Education wasn't meant to be a cure for everything in our community. Education is meant to educate our students so they have opportunities, so that they can be self-sufficient, so that they can move on to some of those dreams. And I just think they've lost their way, and if we don't give them a good focus on where to go, that's part of the problem. I think parents want the best for their kids.
Of course.
And parents want a choice. And we have so many parents that really those kids don't get a choice in their education. This is where you're going, you're locked into here, and whether they want to go to a school and it can't accept any more students. Parents and kids know where real learning is going on, where they feel safe in the classroom, and they deserve that choice in education to be where they want to be, the best outcome for what they want to do in their lives.
So correct me if I'm wrong here. I want to make sure that I'm hearing you correctly and that the expectation is being set properly for our viewership is that if elected, not only is education at the forefront, but we should expect some change fairly soon. Maybe not to fix all of the problems per se, but there will be change.
There will be, and I think one of the things that's very important, I've always said, we must include the stakeholders. That means talking with the parents, talking with the teachers, and getting them on the same wavelength about what the problem is and how we're going to solve this. We need parents and teachers to work as a team. And we see that with good coaches that do that. They bring the parents in and they coach these kids to success. If we can do it on a football field, a basketball court, we can do it in the classroom. Let's use some of those good things we know that work to motivate the students, to get them in the classroom, to keep them in the classroom, so they can look at that success off the field and out of school years later.
I love it. Another big thing that we have to talk about, and I've asked your Ms. Kyle Evans-Gay, excuse me, that's running against you, about economic development. I find it very important. It is absolutely necessary for us to grow our state economy. It has been fumbled, per se, in previous years. We've started a whole new agencies, we've had great ideas and all these other things. What can we do? What can you do if elected as Lieutenant Governor to ensure that business development is occurring and being successful here in the state of Delaware?
Small business matters. People, we have so many entrepreneurs that want to start their own and grow their own small businesses. I have been to different farmers markets in Kent County and met bakers from the city of Wilmington that don't have enough yet to start their own bakery per se. They're baking out of the house and going to farmers markets because there's so many roadblocks. There's access to capital. There's understanding how to start a business. We lost the small business element that we used to have in state government. They went after the prosperity partnership, which is a good idea, but they dwindled down small business. And Delaware is made up a lot of small businesses that make up, if you add them all up together, that's a large sector that can grow the economy. 2 years ago, I helped sponsor what's called a kitchen incubator for those people that were maybe baking in their homes, or maybe they were making jams or jellies. And it was where they could get a commercial kitchen that they didn't have to expense out or find a location for. And now we have about 20 thriving new businesses, all the way from food trucks to those that are making jellies and jams and baking goods, and one has a small catering business. So it's having that vision of what we need. It's just not all big business, it's small businesses. I met a man at one of the Monday clubs, and he was telling me his son's been trying to get his business off the ground in Wilmington for over a year. It's pieces of red tape, it's getting the finances. We need to cut through that. We need to have a business-friendly agency where you can go that can help walk you through the steps you need from startup to so you can open the door. Because I really think small business, we're not getting a lot of large business coming to Delaware. I think a lot of it is small business growth.
And as Lieutenant Governor, how are you planning to make that happen?
I think working with, and I think if we have the right, and we do have 2 gubernatorial candidates who both have that business mindset and wanting to grow business, I think we need to go back to the things that work. There was a book that came out, it was by Seth Godin. He said, quit the wrong stuff, stick with the right stuff, and have the guts to do one or the other. And I think it's time for Delaware to look at what really works best to get people working in Delaware. I think small business is the backbone of our state. Supporting that small business to get started, it will grow, and it will grow in size. It will grow so that it employs other employees. But I think we put too many roadblocks in there for some small business, and we need to remove those regulatory barriers.
Yeah. It has been a very tough election, I think, for Delaware. From the primary standpoint, I think that's fair to say. We haven't necessarily seen an election quite like this, a primary election, from the mudslinging to the it's not what we're used to here in Delaware. I think that's fair. Through that, we may have lost some voter engagement. What assurances can you give to someone making a decision about who to vote for, to re-engage into the voting platform, that you're the right person, but also have a little bit of faith in what we're doing here?
I think for me, when my last day in the House, they did a special ceremony, retirement ceremony. And when I listened to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle say that, Representative, you are the best legislator I have ever worked with, or Representative, you're the most holistic, you look at the whole problem and you're really trying to solve what's best for the people. I think when you hear those kind of comments, and by the way, those were elected officials in your city of Wilmington that were speaking to me about how they're going to miss me. I think when you have that reputation for working across the aisle, for being civil, for being respectful, for being a hard worker, and so you're not too embroiled in the politics of it. I've been elected numerous times in districts by Democrats, Republicans, and independents, because I was always focused on doing the right thing and not being the person that was always right, but doing the right thing for the right reasons. I think in this day and age, people want somebody they feel is authentic, is real and honest and forthright. And I've always said that yes means yes, no means no, and if I'm not sure, I have an open mind. Let's discuss this a little bit forward.
Right.
But I think people want that. They want that confidence that you're the person today that you're going to be tomorrow, that relative certainty, that confidence. That's my reputation that I have, not that I have given myself, but that others have given me, to be that hard worker, very sincere. And I think people appreciate that. When you ask me a question, I'm going to give you that straight answer and not this other answer. And I'm always going to focus on Delaware and Delawareans first. I've never lost perspective, and I'm elected by the people to work for the people. And that's what I want, the message I want to get is, that's the kind of person that I am. I take this job very seriously. It's an honor to serve, and I think a distinct difference is I'm not looking for what's next for me. I'm looking to do the right thing now for the people now.
How can we have seen lieutenant governors in the past be very roll your sleeves up in the communities, getting things done, almost a common fixture, especially in the communities around here in the city of Wilmington and throughout the county.
Right.
What assurances can you give to Delawareans that you will be the same, or what is your tactic in regards
and that's how I've always worked. I've always gone out there and go to where usually people may not go. So whether that was during COVID, handing out food, or making sure the different areas. One of the things I think that your listeners need to understand is I represent one of the most diverse communities in Delaware. 20% Latinas, 14% Black. So I'm representing and have done a tremendous amount of work, even bringing those communities together. And so if you talk to, brothers and sisters, aunts, and somewhere else, you'll find out that I have been very engaged in my community and answering their needs and responding with them and working with them. It goes hand in hand, and that's the type of person that I am. And I think some of it comes back from having worked in the medical community for 20 years and having taught for many years. It's always been about engaging and giving back, serving on numerous boards, Boys and Girls Club, serving on senior services at the Crisis Community House, which is a recovery and transitional home. That's who I am. That's how I live. And so I think when people get that sense that this is just not something I'm saying during a political time, this is the person. Know the person behind the politics, and I'm that person.
So because you're part of all these committees and you've done this, can we expect if elected, a bridge in Dover?
Absolutely.
As far as, making sure that the legislature is staying on task, but not only that, but being that common bond, that glue, that peacemaker.
I think you can look for that relative degree of civility, of understanding. I said to someone, one of the jobs of the lieutenant governor is to preside over the Senate. And that means there's 21 different individuals representing 21 different districts and lots of people. And listening to them and making sure they're heard and respected, and making sure, above all, that the public, there's been a lot of things in the last couple of years that have been pushed through, and the public doesn't even get the opportunity to comment. Some bills on domestic violence that they were trying to railroad through that would have left victims being victimized again. Those are the kind of things that I just put a halt to. We can't have that. You have to listen to those you're representing. They come first.
So what are some challenges that it's 2 a.m, you're staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything in regards to this election and thinking about the state? What are some challenges that you foresee?
I think one of the challenges for me is that the people in Newcastle County, particularly the city of Wilmington, haven't had the opportunity to know me. They can read and see the history of things that I have done on their behalf that they may not even know about. My work with Delaware's Infant and Maternal Health Commission that I have worked on, looking at today's report from the Cancer Consortium and how much better we're doing because I served on that. Looking at those kind of things, my work in my community with Behavioral Health Consortium, and particularly with substance dependency and what I've done. Many of the things you have here, I've been working on in another part of the state because some of those challenges are the same. I would say if you know someone in my neighborhoods, ask them, what has she done for us? Because I've done so much in the communities. And what's important, Kerwin, it's not the legislation you pass, it's those things you help people with. Policy, procedures, or when they're faced with bureaucratic talk, that they need somebody to help them push through that and get a result. And that's what I'm known for.
So I am optimistic that you have a very strong vision for the future in the state of Delaware. I think it's fair that we ask you, with our viewers here, what is your view for the state of Delaware? What's your vision for the state of Delaware moving
My
forward?
vision is there's so much untapped opportunity out there, whether that be the ability to get federal grants and money back into the state that we haven't done, whether that's improving our education system so there is true movement for our kids and true opportunities equally for them throughout the state, whether that's working on safer communities throughout the state, working with, and I've done some different discussions with group violence prevention and intervention throughout the state, those kind of things. I see that and business opportunities, because when business does better, we all do better. And looking at those things, that's the opportunity that I see. And I think seeing that broad picture, having worked on so many of these initiatives over the years, I'm not going to learn about them. I'm ready to put what I've learned to use.
I love it. I love it. So in the last few minutes here, please tell people why they should elect you as the next lieutenant governor for the state of Delaware.
I think I'm uniquely qualified. I think I'm ready more than first day. I'm ready even before the day to begin. Having worked on the budget and the state budget, understanding how we spend our money, where the priorities are, understanding that's very important. I think the second thing is being ready and having worked in the legislative environment, built relationships. This is a relationship business. It's working with coalitions and working with people across the aisle and across different communities to get things done. I don't worry about getting the credit. I just want things to get done for the people, because bottom line, I'm in this to serve and to make Delaware a better place, and I want to take those opportunities we have, put them at the forefront, take them off the burner, stop talking and start doing. I'm ready to start doing.
Well, we're excited that you had an opportunity to come onto the show. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to address our viewers, to let them know where you stand. I think is very important, and letting people know about the big things that are on your mind right now. Education is a big thing on a lot of people's mind right now. Business development is huge on people's minds right now. The economy had a very good day today, right? Very, very good day. But that is, I believe, the beginning of what we're going to see in regards to lowering the interest rates here in the country. But at the same time, we can't forget about the problems that we have currently, right? We have to stay on top of these things. We have to make sure that Delawareans are getting the best shot that they can, whether it's small business, whether it's just paying their bills and making things happen. And we have a legislature and a governor and a lieutenant governor that supports that.
Thank you. I want to say, somebody asked me the other day, how many days left till election? And I said, well, actually, you can absentee vote or you can vote early. But I like the thing that Muhammad Ali had said, don't count the days, make the days count. And that's what I want to do these last few days, and I hope your viewers do as well, is make these last few days count. Find out more about your candidates and who is speaking your language and who understands and wants some of the same things you want and really has a plan to get those done.
Thank you, Ms. Briggs King, for coming on to the show. We hope it's not the last time that you join us here on the agenda. And thank you, everyone, for joining us here on the agenda. As we consider the challenges facing Delaware, let's set partisanship aside and focus on what truly matters, the issues at hand, and the future we want to build together. Ms. Briggs King has articulated compelling reasons for why she is the best choice for Lieutenant Governor. And as we look to the future, let's draw a powerful parallel to the recent SpaceX exhibition. They were able to catch a booster from space and dock it. Just as that innovation represents a leap forward, we must demand the same boldness and commitment in transforming our educational system. As the economy shows signs of optimism and companies announcing stronger quarterly results, finally, let's not forget about the ongoing issues plaguing our country, especially the growing divide between the haves and the have-nots. While there's hope for a soft landing in regards to managing inflation, we cannot lose sight of the socioeconomic challenges that persist right here in Delaware, particularly as the elections approach. Elected officials bear a profound responsibility to serve the public interest, make tough decisions, and be accountable for their actions. They must prioritize the needs of their constituents and work diligently to create a brighter future for all Delawareans. Your vote is more than a right. It's a responsibility. We've heard from both Democratic and Republican candidates for our state top positions, and now it's time to hold them accountable. Education isn't just a talking point every few years. It's an ongoing commitment to our future. Your participation is vital. Demand excellence. Engage in the process. Make your voice heard. As John Quincy Adams said, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, and do more, and become more, you're a leader. The power to reshape our future lies with you. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most of all, be safe out there. I'm Kerwin Gaines, and this is The Agenda. We'll see you next week.